Well, my dear trainer, you've bested the terror of Whitney's Miltank, overcome the nightmare of Morty's Gengar, and broken through the impenetrable wall that is Jasmine's Steelix. But now, it is time for my menacing Ice-type Pokemon to... Wait, no, stop, wait, no! Okay, well, here is your next badge. Have you ever noticed how every Pokemon game seems to have an Ice-type specialist? It seems like since the dawn of Pokemon, Game Freak has had this idea that Ice is this fearsome type that needs to be held back and reserved for the final fights of the game. Gen 1 had Lorelei, 2 was Price, 3 was Glacia, 4 was Candace, Gen 5 had Bryson, then Wolfric, Melanie, and Grusha. The Ice type has historically been so reserved for the endgame that the only type with a later average than it is actually Dragon. And while it makes sense for Dragon to show up so late, it absolutely does not for the Ice type. Ice has a ton of easily exploitable weaknesses, and in many of the games, the Ice types available have terrible secondary typing or just plain bad stats. And today we're going through every game and evaluating each Ice type specialist, whether that be Gym Leader or Elite Four. We're gonna be looking at how they're placed and asking the question, could this leader have been put in a better spot? And of those we deem bad, we're actually going to demote them to an early gym and give them a new team. And starting off in Red and Blue, you might be expecting this to be a little awkward because Lorelei is actually the best Ice type specialist in all of Pokemon. But Lorelei is actually going to set the groundwork to prove my point that Ice type specialists are not near as good as where Game Freak places them. So let's take a look at Kanto's most eligible Bachelorette. Wait, why is that in the script? Lorelei is kind of a baddie? As in bad for the health of your team, because oh my god, Lorelei is cracked. As the first member of Kanto's Elite Four, this girl comes out swinging. And wait a second, that's not even an Ice type. And in fact, she's got just as many Water types as she has Ice types. There's 2 Psychics here? Okay, so Lorelei is certainly a good trainer, but my argument is that Lorelei is good in spite of being an Ice trainer, not because of it. First of all, her scariest Pokemon is the Water Psychic type Slowbro. Look, at this point, we all know Gen 1 Psychics are busted, but also in Generation 1, you've got the whole single special stat debacle. And Slowbro knows Amnesia, which raises both special attack and special defense by 2 stages. So this thing could just start turn 1 with like a cheeky little +4, and it also knows Withdraw. But then you've also got her Lapras, which, yes, is a good Ice type, but it's not just the fact that it's Ice which makes it good. Lapras has really good bulk, and yes, 90% Blizzard in Gen 1 is a thing, and it's really good, but it's this along with its other moves that make the full package of a good Pokemon. You've also got Jinx, which more so benefits from being a Psychic type than it does Ice. And so overall, Lorelei has the vibe of more so being a Water specialist that happens to specialize also in Ice and Psychic. What's interesting though is like, no matter what way you want to spin this, Lorelei is officially an Ice type specialist. And this sets the stage, which I actually think causes issues down the road. As we all know, Game Freak does not like taking big creative leaps. You see this with so many of the games having an early Bug or Rock gym leader. And so this makes me wonder whether Ice type goes on to be put in later gyms simply because it's always been this way. Unfortunately, as you're going to see, it takes a very long time before Ice type can actually get good enough to fill these shoes. Now, lastly, Lorelei doesn't need a demotion, but if I was going to demote her, I would actually just have her swap with Misty. Give her a level 18 Seal with Aurora Beam, Headbutt, and Growl, and the level 21 Cloyster as her ace with Bubble Beam, Aurora Beam, and Withdraw. This would actually probably be better for the game because then you could have Misty with Starmie as the Elite Four, but ultimately it's not a change that's necessary. Now, as we move into Gold, Silver, and Crystal, Johto adds Ice types Swinub, Piloswine, Delibird, Smoochum, and Sneasel. Now, let me ask, if you had to take a look at this roster of 5, would you say, yeah, that looks like Pokemon for the 7th gym? Well, average base stat of 353, late game for sure. Now, I'm being a little bit disingenuous here because the things with the Johto games is that they're meant to be an amalgamation of both Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon. And with this extended roster, I actually do think you could make a very good late game Ice specialist. The question we're trying to ask though is whether it would be the best placement for the Ice Specialist. Unfortunately though, what we got is neither late and good nor early and appropriate. Price is the 7th gym leader, and he has a Seal, Dugong, and Piloswine with this for learn sets. Seal with Icy Wind and Aurora Beam, but no water moves, exact same set on Dugong, and then Piloswine gets Mist and Fury attack, but no ground moves. This isn't even a case of Ice type kind of sucking, it's just bad decision making. And I say that understanding the developmental issues of Gen 2. You don't want to run Lapras again because it was Lorelei's ace, and you feel the same for Jinx because it's needed for Will in the Elite Four. But like, look man, you can make Ice type late, but it's incompatible with these other restrictions you're placing on yourself. Now, sure, I guess based on level, Price is technically the 6th gym, but does that really change anything? What I'm getting at is difficulty is just not a factor here. Game Freak had no problem traumatizing 8-year-olds with a Miltank, and you can't even make the argument for overusing Lorelei's Lapras because Gengar, who appears 3 times in the first Elite Four, is then appearing 4 times on the 4th gym leader in Johto. Now, in Pokemon Crystal Legacy, which are the ROM hacks that we made, we did manage to keep Price where he is and generally fix him. His base team was Sneasel, Dugong, Jinx, and Piloswine, and then Cloyster was added depending when you fought him. And this was the best we could do for Price, putting him where he is, but I'm still not convinced that it was like actually the best placement for him. What's crazy is I actually think that Price would have made for the perfect first gym leader. Picture a Gym 1 Price. He could have just a Smoochum and a Swinub, and that would be a great little introductory team. Or to better maintain the theme of mixed gyms, you could instead do Seal and Swinub. Swinub is perfect for the first gym. It's got low stats, and it can show off the new move Powder Snow. Cyndaquil would toast it, Totodile would also cover Swinub's ground weakness, and Chikorita would get to keep the role of being weak to everything in Johto. But seriously, even Chikorita would be quite helpful in this fight. But it's in Generation 3, where things somehow manage to get even worse. Hello, Glacia. Okay, so quick refresher, the Hoenn Dex has 3 families of ice types, and one of them is the legendary Regice. So discounting the legendary, you have 5 Pokemon in total over the span of 2 families. I now pass the question on to you. If you had never seen these games before, where would you place the ice type specialist? Where do you think Glacia would fit in Hoenn's gym league? Well, as I'm sure most of you know, she doesn't. No, we lean back on the safety of our Lorelei pick, and Glacia is somehow the 3rd member of the Elite Four. She's got Glalie, Celio, Glalie, Celio, and Celio's Final Evolution, Walrein. Apart from the champion or Drake spot, I genuinely don't know if this could have gone in a worse spot. And that's just on the basis of team building alone. It shouldn't be forgotten that Glalie is an awful Pokemon, and obviously the non-evolved Celios just have no business being in the Elite Four. And as for the ice type itself, the only change that happened in this generation to make it better is the introduction of Hail, which does nothing but chip non-ice types. There's no abilities that synergize with it, and it doesn't even make Blizzard more accurate. And that, of course, that all goes without saying that ice this late is just bad. By this point in the game, you have so many things that is super effective against it. So hopefully it goes without saying that Glacia would have done much better as an early gym. Let's first imagine her taking the place of Roxanne. Following her Emerald team to a T, we could start off by giving her 2 level 12 snow runs with Powder Snow, Leer, and an added tackle. Just like the Mudkip line against rocks, the Torchic line is doubly super effective. Doubly fire and fighting is what I'm saying. Mudkip resists. And then you have Trico, which is the one starter that matches up badly. And then her ace is Spheal, which is like the best Pokemon in all of Hoenn. Give this guy Powder Snow, Water Gun, Defense Curl, Growl, stops Torchic from just like toasting the fight, gives Trico something to do. I personally think that this would be better than the Roxanne fight we're given. But you could also do a really interesting thing if you swapped her out with Watson. So basically just what if Watson's Emerald team, but ice type. Start with a level 21 Spheal that knows Powder Snow, Water Gun, Ice Ball, and Defense Curl, kind of mimicking like the weak but scary Voltorb. You got a Snow Runt with Icy Wind, Bite, Headbutt, and Hail. That's kind of like the does nothing Electrike. You get Celio with Powder Snow, Water Gun, Body Slam, and Growl, mimicking the very scary Magneton. And then the ace is Glalie with Icy Wind, Bite, Headbutt, and Hail. Like, is that any different at all? I actually think Glalie would make a phenomenal ace for the 3rd gym. With 80 in every single base stat, it's not like really good at anything. But unlike the electric type, which has only one weakness, you've got ice type, which is like, kind of weak to everything. Now in Fire Red and Leaf Green, nothing really changes, but I've gone ahead and made another Gym 2 team for her, which looks pretty much the same, but we just add in Water Pulse. We have no time for Fire Red and Leaf Green because we need to talk about Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. In all 3 of the Generation 4 games, Candace is the 7th gym leader, but her team wildly varies in Platinum. Her Diamond and Pearl team is pretty trash. Snover this late is just far too weak to do anything. Her Ace of Abomasnow is pretty strong, but its new ability Snow Warning that puts up hail doesn't actually do anything to help out this fight other than chip damage. The bigger issue is that both of these Pokemon are 4 times weak to fire. In general, Pokemon with 4 times ice weaknesses are really bad when they're on opponents' AI teams. And this is just because it's really easy for you to swap over to your fire type and the AI probably won't switch and you get the free one-hit KO. And unfortunately, her Sneasel also has a 4 times fighting weakness. So first and foremost, Infernape is a really bad matchup for Candace. But because they're 4 times weak, you really only need a fire and fighting TM on any Pokemon to just destroy her. And sure, her Medicham is really nice with Pure Power and Ice Punch, but that only kind of proves my point. The only Pokemon that's scary on this team is scary because it's a good Pokemon that happens to know an ice move. Ice type is very good offensively, but as we're starting to learn, not good defensively. Gen 4's Platinum really does a great job with fixing this. She now leads Sneasel, which does still suck, but at the front, it can at least now get off a quick Ice Shard. And then she swaps Snover with Piloswine, which has Earthquake to cover fire types. Abomasnow then very smartly gets swapped to her 3rd position. Now it still does get toasted, but fortunately for it can set up Hail before going down. This is then the perfect lead into her new ace Frostlass. Frostlass has the new hail-themed ability Snow Cloak, and this makes all moves have 80% of their base accuracy while in hail. Snow Warning further synergizes though because Blizzard now has 100% accuracy in hail. And so while it does take a round of revisions to get it right, Platinum Candace is a very strong gym leader. And I need to clarify that this is a fantastic thing. I want the games to be fun, and I'm super happy when I see Game Freak making crazy smart choices. So Ice type Gym 7 totally makes sense. In fact, I might even make the argument that Game Freak didn't go hard enough here. Gen 4 adds Glaceon, Mamoswine, Weavile, Abomasnow, and Frostlass. Obviously, it's still an ice team, so it would struggle, but I think this team in the Elite Four would be way cooler than Flint. But for the sake of what we said in this video, let's imagine Candace as Gym 3. So we're mimicking Diamond and Pearl Maylene or Fantina's Platinum, which has a first stage, middle, and final. She could lead Snover with Ice Shard, Icy Wind, Swagger, and Razor Leaf. Then, to cover the fire type, Piloswine with Mud Bomb, Icy Wind, Ice Fang, and Takedown. And then finish off with a level 26 Frostlass that knows Icy Wind, Ominous Wind, Confuse Ray, and Double Team. To me, that feels pretty in line with what you see from Platinum Fantina. Now, just out of curiosity, for Heart Gold and Soul Silver, I wanted to show what a Gym 3 sort of Whitney level price would look like. And all you have to do is just take his team and scale it down to her level. You can have a level 16 Seal with Icy Wind, Water Gun, Headbutt, and Rest, a level 18 Dugong with Icy Wind, Water Gun, Headbutt, and Growl, and then a level 20 Piloswine with Mud Bomb, Powder Snow, Hail, and Swagger. You could even remove the Steel or Dugong if you wanted to really lock it into her team. But again, I think the point is this would feel so much better than where price is in the game, and it would be very similar to Whitney's difficulty. Now, moving on to Black and White. I've said some great things about Black and White, but this is an area that they just completely flopped on. So the Black and White Unova decks got 3 families. So again, I will ask the question, did we really need to go 7th gym to make this team? First of all, we don't even get the final form of Vanillux, and Vanillish is really bad. And then you've got Cryogonal with 30 defense and 70 HP, basically getting one-shot by any physical attacker. Dude, this thing dies to a warm sneeze from Emboar. And so basically the only thing that can take a hit on this team is Beartic. But what's cool about this gym is it's our first example of an ice specialist that has 3 pure ice types. Now, 3 pure anythings is never going to be very good, but ice type is just, again, especially bad. By the 7th gym, there are just so many answers to beat this guy. Like, Bryson might genuinely be one of the worst gym leaders in the history of Pokemon. And I'm sorry, but like the Icarus gym, did Bryson really fly too close to the sun? I actually think he needed to fly closer to realize what a huge weakness he has to fire. Astonish? Rapid spin? Like what? Okay, so with that out of the way, let's back it up here and instead place Bryson as the 2nd gym leader. He's taken out Lenora. We give him a level 18 Cubchoo with Icy Wind, Charm, Endure, and Flail. It's a fun sort of black and white feeling combo. Then let's give him a level 20 Vanillish. We give this Icy Wind, Mirror Shot, Acid Armor, and the last move will be Avalanche, which doubles when this Pokemon goes 2nd. I like that because it mirrors Lenora's super strong Retaliate. Now in Black and White 2, Bryson is actually so bad that Cynthia kills him. That's not actually true, but he does get removed from this game, and I can't help but think it's because he was just so bad. What's hilarious though is that this is a game where you actually could have made a really good ice-type specialist. These games have Glaceon, Cubchoo, Beartick, Cryogonal, Lapras, Spheal, Celio, Walrein, Sneasel, Weavile, Delibird, the Vanillas, Swinub, Pylo, and Mamoswine, and Dugong. So, the game that to this point has the highest number of available ice types, just so much flexibility to put an ice type trainer literally anywhere, is the first game that does not feature an ice type specialist. It is a tough day for the ice type lovers. You could have made an Elite 14 with Glaceon, Beartick, Walrein, Weavile, and Mamoswine. You could literally just make a better version of Bryson with Vanillish, Beartick, and then literally any other of the 2 Pokemon I mentioned, but I kind of still think that early would still be best. Because you could also do a pretty cool thing by just sticking to the Gen 5 ice types and going with the 3rd gym. You could just take the Cubchoo and Vanillish that we already looked at for the 2nd gym, level them up, and then Cryogonal would actually be a pretty solid ace for this point in the game. Give it Ice Shard, Sharpen, Acid Armor, and Confuse Ray, where it can kind of set up and get scary, but you know, it's got the massive downside of just having those super awful weaknesses. So again, 2 different placements where an early gym would actually be really good in Black and White. So moving into X and Y, we have the first time ever where an ice specialist is actually the 8th gym leader. And what is just so crazy is the fact that you getting a Fighting Steel Mega Lucario for free is not the biggest reason why this gym is so easy. I hope you're following me. Now, before we dive further into Wulfric, I want to also mention Grant. Gen 6's 2nd gym leader has the first appearance of an ice-type Pokemon featured before the 6th gym. First of all, absolutely crazy that there's no ice types ever featured earlier, because Amora is actually pretty well suited for the 2nd gym. Like, yes, it has a 4 times fighting weakness. That's never good, but it's so much better to place it here than anything later. Like, I don't know, on the Champions team? Has anyone ever struggled with Dianthus Auroras? Probably not. So the reason I bring this up is I just think it's a nice little case study showing that it's not so much like we hate the ice type. It's just that ice type in a single player game where you're fighting against an AI that kind of sucks at switching against bad type matchups, similar to Bug and Rock, is really well suited for an early gym. But of course, it is not Grant we're looking at for X and Y, but rather, dude, I forgot his name. It's Wulfric. Good old Wulfric with 3 Pokemon. He's got an Abomasnow, who dies to literally any fire move. Then, for the 2nd generation in a row, a Cryogonal. Cryogonal, it doesn't matter. Now, finally, to finish off this team, we have the new Avalugg. A Pokemon so bad that Champion Gita uses it. Jokes aside, Avalugg is a kind of okay Pokemon, but it has a similar issue with Cryogonal, where it has ridiculously low special defense, making its high defense quite useless in a single player game. So sure, I guess with this team build, you can't come in and just do a 3-turn flamethrower sweep, because you know, you're gonna probably have to 2-shot the Cryogonal, but yeah, it's it's rough, man. And again, if this build wasn't bad enough, there's also the fighting steel type Mega Lucario. Oh, and even worse is all 3 starters in this generation have an advantage over ice type because Chestnut, the grass type, is even part fighting. Wolfric is so bad. He actually won a community poll for most disappointing 8th gym leader by a landslide. And I'm setting up this joke to say Avalanche, but it's just stupid, and so is Wolfric. Now, as far as fixing this team, even for the 8th gym, I don't think just adding on an Aurorus would do much for him. But I don't know, you could throw in Glaceon, a Pokemon that still hasn't been featured. There's also Cloyster, Lapras, Mamoswine, Jinx, Weavile. Or, you could even bring in Vanillux. But no. Game Freak was like, we need Crayogonal again. So it's clear to me that this would have made a much better gym too. You could start off with a level 22 Bergmite, give it Powder Snow, Takedown, and Curse, that you could then actually just recycle Grant Zamora, just pull it back slightly to like level 23, give it Aurora Beam, Rock Tomb, Hail. And then I actually think for the second gym, Avalugg would be a really interesting Pokemon. This gym comes unnaturally late for a second gym with the ace capping at 25. And I think Avalugg would make for a really interesting ace because it's like this quite strong Pokemon that's just like a defensive wall, but it's super weak in special defense. And I think that for the second gym, that poses an interesting challenge. Also, very importantly, it's before you get the Mega Lucario. So, as you're probably not surprised by at this point, X and Y is a huge miss. Now, quick little note on Glacia and Oraz. We swap out the 2 Celio for 2 Frostlass. Both of them have Snowcloak, and there's actually a lot of Hail users on this team. Blizzard, also importantly, is 100% accurate in Hail now. In terms of difficulty, Glacia is certainly much better. You can't sweep her with a Fire type because she's got Wall Rain for water coverage. You can't sweep her with a Fighting type because Frostlass is immune. And so, you would need something like a Fire Fighting type to deal with her here. I still give this Glacia a passing grade for her placements. I know they're kind of stuck on past decisions, and they did the best that they could. But again, she's got 3 Pokemon, 4 of which are from the same family. So in my books, it's still a miss. Now, interestingly, the Generation 7 games, Sun, Moon, and the Ultras, have no ice specialist. This is the first generation with Oat-1, and you know why this was a thing? Well, that's because the only new ice-type Pokemon in this game are Alolan Ninetales, Alolan Sandslash, and Crabominable. So yeah, this is just like a perfect play. You don't have a lot of new ice types, so don't make an ice specialist. So in doing nothing, Generation 7 actually handles this incredibly well. Now, if Alola did have gym leaders, they actually could have made a pretty cool like Gym 1 or Gym 2 fight. A team of just Alolan Vulpix and Alolan Sandshrew would be really cool because it's 2 super familiar Pokemon, but shows off the new regional forms. So let's say Gym 2, you lead with an Alolan Vulpix that has Ice Shard, Baby Doll Eyes, Confuse Ray, and Payback, and then Alolan Sandshrew with Ice Steel typing is the ace. Steel typing is a lot, but, big weaknesses and all that, I think it would be pretty fair. Give it Metal Claw, Powder Snow, Swift, and Ice Ball, which would be kind of reminiscent of Whitney's Miltank's rollout. As for Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu, Lorelei more or less stays the same. All her Pokemon only have 3 moves, and Psychic types are nowhere near as good as they once were. Her Slowbro gets Flamethrower, which is kind of cool, but Lorelei is still probably top 2 E4 members, but she feels a lot more balanced in this generation. Honestly, though, I think a water-focused specialist would have probably been more appropriate here. But please, have no fear, because really, for the first time ever, in Generation 8, we see an Ice-type Team Cook straight off the bat. I lied, because Melanie is actually exclusive to Pokemon Shield only. But seriously, Melanie is a great ice specialist. Her lead is Frostmoth, which does kind of suck, but it's Frostmoth's intro generation, so I think this is really fine, especially for the 6th gen. Next up, she's got Galarian Darmanitan, which is a really strong Pokemon. She's also got Ice Cube. This thing has a really cool Ice Face ability where its base form with the big ice block has a lot of defense, and when you attack it with a physical move, the Ice Face breaks off and it turns into a big speedster. So basically it takes a hit and then gets really fast, and it's not the absolute best Pokemon, but I think, again, perfect for Gym 6. And then she finishes it off with a G-Max Lapras, which is obviously great. So, first ice specialist that actually has 4 Pokemon from her own region, if you count the forms. And honestly, this is the most well-designed ice specialist ever. Even more so when you look at what else is available. Because all else you have are these Pokemon's earlier forms and a bunch of used ice Pokemon from the past. And Glaceon. So sure, you could make a Gym 1 team with Snom and Darumaka, but I think that would be a huge misstep. This is a rare case where of the available ice Pokemon, the ice specialist is placed at the perfect spot for them. And as we move over to Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, we see that Candace has her Diamond and Pearl teams once more. They've got items now. Abomasnow has Blizzard. I can't really give them much more than that. It's an optimized version of Diamond and Pearl, but it's still the Diamond and Pearl team. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Truly some of the games of all time. Now, if I don't mention Pokemon Legends Arceus, people get mad in the comment section. Always gotta mention it, but these games are not based around battling, so you can't make the one-to-one. There is an ice specialist named Warden Garrick. He's got a Glalie and a Frostlass. It's PLA, it's fine. It's not really meant to be anything other than what it is. But Generation 9 is where, honestly, Generation 9's Grusha just leaves me disappointed. Okay, so first off, check out this team. We've got Frostmoth, Beartic, Titan, and Terra Ice Altaria. It's a team, but the big important thing that you need to remember is this is the 8th gym. This is the final test before you are approved to go and battle the Elite Four. I think it is reasonable to ask for a good Gym A fight. And unfortunately, Grusha is just kind of wasted potential. Now, after we finish talking about Grusha, I'm gonna give a final breakdown of where the Ice Specialists as a whole fall. It's very important and very tragic, so please just keep watching. But first, let's look at how else you could have placed Grusha. The only new ice types in Gen 9 are Titan, Baxcalibur, Iron Bundle, and Chen Pao. So just like Gen 3, apart from legendaries, you have 2 ice families. And even worse this time is you're reserving one for the Elite Four. That basically means you cannot in any way do an early ice gym. It just wouldn't make sense. I mean, you could, but you'd just be reusing a bunch of other old ice types. So you've got Frostmoth, not new to this generation and not very good. I don't like it. Beartic is maybe fine for a mid-game gym or the generation it was launched in, but again, it doesn't feel right here. So Titan is quite good, but the fact that Altaria is Grusha's ace just kills me. This is the case for everything in Gen 9, so it's not really Grusha's fault, but to take a non-ice Pokemon and then turn it into Terra Ice is just so stupid. Literally the only time that this strategy actually works is on Iono because she turns her Mismagius into electric, which with Levitate then doesn't get hit by ground moves. And worse is that Altaria isn't even a Pokemon that has the moves to cover all of Ice's weaknesses. Here's what they should have done. I think Ice-Q is a way cooler Pokemon than Frostmoth. Let's bring that back. Give it the same set of head in Gen 8. It'll lead with Icy Wind, Freeze Dry, Amnesia, and Hail. Oh, next, let's throw on Mr. Rhyme. This is the one ice type from Generation 8 that wasn't featured on Melanie's team. This thing's got great stats. You can give it Psychic, Ice Shard, Hypnosis, and Teeter Dance. Now, third out, what we need is a Snow Warning Pokemon. See, in Generation 9, we finally see Hail change up a bit, and it actually becomes the Snow ability. Over 8 generations, Ice has been bad, and finally, because of this ability, it got pretty good. In Snow, Ice Pokemon receive a 50% boost to their defense. So personally, if I could have it my way, I would throw in Alolan Ninetales in here. Fairy typing is nice because it covers fighters. And again, its hidden ability is Snow Warning. Give it Blizzard, Dazzling Gleam, Extra Sensory, Aurora Veil. And I know it's not in the game, but this would just be so much more cool than throwing Abomasnow back in. And so then from here, this would all be set up into Titan. Not with Thick Fat, however, with Slush Rush. This is the new ability that pairs with Snow. It's Chlorophyll, but for ice types. Doubles Titan's speed. So you've got this big, thick boy that gets really fast, gets a 50% defense boost. You give it Ice Spinner, Liquidation, Hail, Amnesia. Oh my gosh. Grusha's issue is not his placements, but more so just Game Freak really holding back. Finally, after 9 generations, they introduce a mechanic that makes Ice type good. They make an 8th Ice Gym Leader, and then they don't even take advantage of its mechanic. That's tough. So with all that said, we need to take a moment and just look at the big picture here. Of the 9 generations, we have 4 categories of ice trainers. There are the bad ice trainers, which could have been good, and this includes Price, Grusha, and Diamond and Pearl Candace. There's trainers that are good in spite of being ice types, and this is basically just Lorelei. Then there were the bad ice trainers that just had no chance of ever being good. This is Glacia, Bryson, and Wulfric. And so after you take all those away, what are you left with? The trainers that are good and appropriately placed, it is literally just Platinum Candace and Shield Melanie. So generously, that is a third of the Sinnoh games and half of Gen 8. So pretty much all of Pokemon's ice specialists are just in a really bad spot. And I simply do not understand why. In pretty much all the games, ice is just not good enough to compete with where it's placed. And as you saw, ice actually can make a very good early type, because just like rock type, types that have a lot of weaknesses make great early gyms. And I don't understand what it is that is so special about the ice type that means it should be a late game gym or even Elite Four. But hey, here's to Generation 10. If you guys are enjoying these videos, I just want to ask, please subscribe. I've been having a really fun time switching up the content. I am just so excited to keep bringing you some awesome videos. So thank you guys so much for everything, and we'll see you real soon. Peace.